Hello and welcome back, my continuously quilting friends. I've been continuously quilting. I know yesterday I talked to you about quilt bindings, and today I want to talk about them some more. And I did get my quilt quilted that I wanted to show you the binding on, and I was working against the clock trying to get here by 2 o'clock for our live time. So I only got the very corner of it sewn on by machine like I was showing you yesterday. So I have this corner here sewn on by machine. And now I'm going to show you the hand stitching to stitch down. So I did it in a corner because I want to show you how to get around the corner and what's very important to do when you get to the corner. So the rest of it is all just straight. You get the stitch down, you'll be good to go on the straight sides. So I'm going to show you my little pod here. My friend Cindy made this for me. I call this the binding bag. And it's just this little cute pouch. And I always know when I'm ready to do a binding to grab this little pouch. So inside of the pouch, I have some cute little snips to snip my thread, or you could have a little pair of scissors. Those just fit in there really nice. Whichever color thread that I need for my binding. And of course, like when we were talking about hand needles, I told you about these amazing binding needles. So those are always in my binding pouch. And then I might have a couple of clips. Sometimes I'll use these little clips instead of pins, especially going around the corner. And of course, a thimble. So that's my binding pouch. I have already gotten my needle all threaded and ready here because my old eyes, sometimes it takes a while to get it threaded. So I want to make sure I have that ready. So I want to show you the binding needle. It's really nice and long and very sturdy. I think that's part of the secret to it. Although, like I said, I do think there's some magic unicorn dust in there somewhere. So, okay. So I left this open so I could show you a way that you can make a knot. So you take the end of the thread pointing towards your needle, and then you grab hold of the end of it and twist it around your needle like twice, and then hold on to that where you twisted it and pull it down through all the way to the end, and you have a nice little tight knot that isn't real bulky. Sometimes I do the whole lick the finger, wrap it around, and do that too. I just find that those knots tend to be a little bit bigger and bulkier. So I'm going to tilt you down here now and try to work. All right, so hopefully I can do this kind of facing out towards you guys. Get up here. All right, so it's very important that you kind of feel your binding, that it's nice and pulled up. I have heard of people, and I've done this a couple of times, where once you stitch this all on by machine, you actually go to the iron and on this side press, then you know that that's going to have a nice straight, you don't want it to like fold down like that and have any play in it. Okay, so you want to make sure. I just kind of do it with my fingers as I go generally. So I'm going to fold it all the way over. And then again, I'm going to I want the edge of my quilt to completely fill this entire binding. I don't want it to be up where there's no fabric in it. Okay, that's going to cause your binding to wear out quicker if you do that. So I'm filling it with my fingers. I've got it nice and pulled tight on the back side and then all the way full. Okay, so now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go kind of way inside because I want to bury that knot. Okay, so I pulled that through. Now, the way that I do my stitches is right where my thread came up. I'm going to go right back in there again and take a tiny little bite of the fabric, of the quilt, and then just the very edge of the binding is where the needle's going to come up through there. Okay, pull that through, and then I'm going to go right back down right where I came up, and another tiny little bite of the quilt, and come up right in the very edge of my binding. Okay, so I'm going to do a few more stitches like that up to the corner. I should have started up closer to the corner because I have to sit here and watch me do my binding all the way. Okay, I have to come back through here anyway, so if I was going to knot this off, I'll just show you that, and then we'll go back up to the corner. Okay, again, I'm going to just take a tiny little bite right where I'm going to end, where I need to cut my thread, pull it through till there's a loop, go in through the loop once and twice, and that's going to make a nice knot right there. Then I generally go up underneath the binding here and just do a couple little stitches just in the very top layer of the quilt. Don't go all the way through, just to give it a little tail so I'm not cutting it off right at the knot. Okay, so that's how you would end it. Clip that off on there. Okay, let's go up to the corner now. When you are doing the corner, remember how I showed you that we made a really nice mitered corner there on the side that we sewed on by machine? Now I'm going to fold this over and then fold that side flat, and then this side down on top of it. So it makes, again, another mitered corner. Then I always check to make sure, because this side, the bulk of the miter goes this direction, and on this side, the bulk of the fabric goes this way. You can tell that you've done it right if you look at it head on. If you did it wrong, I'll show you this because I think this is funny. If you do it head on and you have the miters on both sides, it looks like a pig nose. Can't see it too well because that big polka dot, but anyway, you just want to double check and make sure that you have the bulk going opposite on each side, going the opposite way. Okay, so I gotta make another knot in my thread. Okay, so I'll come up here and get right in the corner, since that's what I want to show you. I have to do my miter again. Okay, so there's my miter. I'm going to come up right in the corner at the bottom. Now that I've come to the corner, the really important thing I wanted to show you here is I need to stitch this miter part closed on this side and the front side. So I'm just going to keep on doing that same. I'm going to do even little tinier stitches, bites, than I did stitching the binding down. Okay, to get, you probably want about at least 2 or 3 stitches in there, maybe even a little bit more if you can. Okay, so I got all the way up to the corner. Now I'm going to push this through to the other side right at the tip of the miter. Pull that tight, and then now I've got to come, so I'm kind of in an awkward position trying to stay in front of the camera, and I'm going to come right back up. Got a knot in it. Okay, and just making sure that I get that miter all the way stitched down. Okay, so now I'm on the back of the quilt again. I need to get back over. Okay, see how I've stitched that all the way down. So I'm going to just go right in the corner right there and back up to the other side in the corner. And now I'm ready to go on down the other side. Again, working as I go, pulling, making sure this is wrapping around really nice, that it's flat right here, and that it's all the way filled in. Those are the really important things about doing a binding. Okay, so that's it. That's my binding, hand stitching on the binding. I hope that you find it helpful. I have to tell you the reasons why you want to stitch this miter closed are a couple. One is because if you ever do put your quilt into a competition and it gets judged, that's the first thing they always check. One of the first things when they're checking binding, that is the number one thing I've seen that people get marked off for, is that they don't have their miters stitched shut. But the functional reason that you want to sew those miters shut like that is because over time it'll keep your corners nice and pointy. Over time, if those aren't sewn shut over washings and use, this is going to kind of pull out, and it's going to end up rounded. It's going to get a lot more wear and tear, and wear out quicker that way. So there is functional reason as well. When you're putting your binding on, just remember if you're going to stitch it down by machine or if you're going to stitch it down by hand, which side you put it on. So here's a quilt behind me. I don't know if you guys remember that the first couple of days that I started doing these Facebook Lives, I was just piecing this quilt. And yesterday you saw me put the binding on it, and it's all completely done now. And it turned out really fun. It's a lot of fun, but I wanted to show you this one. I'm going to have to pull this up. The machine binding on it turned out pretty good. So that's how it looks stitched down on the front by machine. And technically should go back even, because you can't really do the miter, stitching the miter shut by machine. You do have to go back and hand stitch those corners down. So that's my spiel today about binding, but talking about doing your quilts, if you're going to enter your quilts in shows. This last summer, a year ago, I have started scribing for quilt shows where they're entered into your quilts are entered into shows, and they get judged by a certified quilt judge. So I've been starting kind of the process of that and have been doing the scribe work. So the judge says, these are all the great things about the quilt. These are the things that need work on. And I've really learned a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. And it's something I really love and am passionate about. I love that people are out there putting their quilts out there for the world to see, because it's such a great art form. So tomorrow, we're going to talk more about that, about what kind of things the quilt judges are looking for. So start thinking about possibly entering your quilt into county fairs. Is probably the biggest venue. Those are the ones that I've mostly gone to do the scribing at. And like I said, it's just been a lot of fun, and they're open to everybody. It's usually maybe a couple dollars to enter your quilt. And I think it's worthwhile because you really learn how to improve your skills. And I'm going to share a really big story about that, how it helped me get better at quilting really early on when I put a quilt in a show. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, and I hope you guys will join me. Stay continuously creative, and I will see you at 2 o'clock tomorrow on my Facebook page. Bye, guys.